Captain Hana Kim stood in the docking bay of Station Helix 9 and looked around. The station was enormous, floating in space near a massive purple star. Ships from dozens of different worlds came and went through the bright metal corridors. Aliens of every type walked past her. Some had too many legs. Some had no legs at all. Some were made of crystal that glowed from inside. Some floated in bubbles of strange gas. Hana had been a ship captain for 6 years now. She had seen many strange things since humans first met aliens 63 years ago, but she never got tired of watching the incredible variety of life that filled the galaxy. Each species was so different, yet they all worked together here on this station. Her communicator buzzed. A message flashed on the small screen. Captain Kim, please come to Lab 7 immediately. Urgent matter. Trainer Veltharok. Hana frowned. She had only arrived 10 minutes ago. She was supposed to meet with the station commander first, but if Veltharok said it was urgent, it probably was. The Zenthari trainer was one of the most respected xenobiology experts in the entire consortium. He did not waste time on small problems. She made her way through the corridors, following the signs to the science section. The walls were white and clean. The air smelled strange, like metal and something sweet she could not identify, probably cleaning chemicals designed for alien biology. Lab 7 was at the end of a long hallway. The door slid open when she approached. Inside, the room was cold and sterile. Scientific equipment lined the walls. Screens showed data she did not understand. And in the center of the room stood Trainer Veltharok. The Zenthari looked like a giant insect from Earth's old horror movies. He stood on 6 legs with 2 more limbs that worked like arms. His body was covered in dark green armor-like skin. His head had large compound eyes that seemed to look in multiple directions at once. When he spoke, his mandibles clicked together in a way that would have scared Hana years ago. Now she was used to it, Captain Kim, Veltharok said. His voice came through a translator device attached to his thorax. Thank you for coming so quickly. We have a serious situation. What kind of situation? Hana asked. Veltharok's mandibles clicked nervously. 3 weeks ago, one of our exploration vessels discovered a derelict ship near the Teravec system. It was badly damaged. Life support had failed. All the adult crew were dead. But we found one survivor. A survivor? Hana said. That's good news, isn't it? Perhaps, Veltharok said, if we knew what it was. The creature we found is unlike anything in our databases. It is extremely dangerous, aggressive, highly intelligent. It has injured 3 of our handlers. We have tried every containment protocol. Nothing works for long. It learns, it adapts. It finds weaknesses in every system we use. Hana felt a chill run down her spine. You called me here to help with an unknown hostile species? Not exactly, Veltharok said. The ship it came from had markings. After much research, we believe the vessel was human in origin, but the creature inside does not match any human profile we have. We hoped you might be able to identify it. Hana's stomach tightened. A human ship with an unknown creature aboard? That did not make sense, unless something terrible had happened. Show me, she said quietly. Veltharok led her to a large window made of thick, reinforced glass. Beyond it was a containment cell. The walls were white and bare. The floor was smooth metal. In the corner, surrounded by broken pieces of equipment, sat a small figure. Hana's breath caught in her throat. Her heart started pounding. For a moment, she could not speak. She could only stare. The creature in the cell was a little girl. A human child, maybe 7 or 8 years old. She had dark hair that was tangled and dirty. Her face was thin, too thin. She wore torn pieces of a colony ship uniform that was far too big for her. She sat very still, stacking pieces of broken metal into careful patterns. Her movements were slow and deliberate, like she was building something important. This creature is Perilous, Captain Kim, Veltharok said. His voice was serious. I must warn you, it shows remarkable intelligence. Problem-solving abilities far beyond what we expected. It has created weapons from scrap material. It sets traps. It learns from every interaction. When we try to sedate it, it finds ways to avoid the drugs. When we try to restrain it, it escapes. 3 of our best handlers are in the medical bay because of it. Hana turned to look at Veltharok. She raised one eyebrow slowly. Her voice was very cold when she spoke. Dangerous? To who, sir? Veltharok seemed confused by her tone. To everyone who has approached it. As I said, 3 handlers are injured. That, Hana said, pointing at the child through the glass, is a human child. A little girl. Where did you find her? A child? Veltharok's compound eyes shifted color slightly. This is a juvenile of your species? We did not know. The size suggested immaturity, but the intelligence level and survival capabilities were so high that we assumed it was an adult of a small species. Our databases on human development are incomplete. Tell me everything, Hana said. Her voice was shaking now, but not with fear. With anger. Tell me exactly what happened. Veltharok clicked his mandibles again. Our exploration vessel was mapping the Teravex system. They detected a ship drifting in space, no power, no life signs according to their scans. They boarded it to investigate. The ship was a human colony vessel called the Seongnam. The crew were all dead. Life support failure, from what we could determine. But in a sealed section of the ship they found that creature alive. How long? Hana asked. How long was the ship drifting? We estimate at least 4 months based on the decay of the bodies and the ship's log files. 4 months. Hana looked back at the child through the glass. 4 months alone on a dead ship. 4 months in the dark. 4 months with the bodies of everyone she knew. And she survived. What did she do to survive? Hana asked quietly. She rerouted power from the backup systems to her section. She created a water recycling system using parts from the life support. She trapped and disabled maintenance drones for their protein-based lubricants. She rationed the emergency food supplies with mathematical precision. Captain Kim, she turned an entire section of that dead ship into a functioning habitat. When our crew found her, she attacked them. She had created crude weapons. She fought like a cornered predator. They had to sedate her from a distance and bring her here in a containment unit. Hana closed her eyes for a moment. She could imagine it too clearly. A little girl waking up alone, everyone dead. The ship dying around her. And instead of giving up, instead of curling up and waiting to die, she fought. She adapted. She survived by any means necessary. And then aliens found her. Aliens she had never seen before. They sedated her, put her in a box, and brought her to a station full of strange creatures. They treated her like a dangerous animal because they did not understand what she was. You need to release her from this cell, Hana said. Right now. Captain Kim, I understand your concern, but the protocols for hostile specimens require. She is not a specimen. Hana's voice was loud now. She is a child. A traumatized, terrified child who has been through hell and back. Of course she fought your handlers. From her perspective, she was captured by monsters. Veltharok took a step back. I see, I did not understand. Our species reaches maturity within weeks of hatching. The concept of vulnerable young that require years of development is foreign to us. I apologize for the error, Captain Kim. Hana took a deep breath, trying to calm down. Getting angry at Veltharok would not help. He genuinely did not know. His species was so different from humans that the idea of a helpless child probably made no sense to him. Can you access the ship's records? Hana asked. Find out who she is? Veltharok worked at a nearby console for a moment. According to the Seongnam's passenger manifest, there was one child aboard. Yoonji Lee, age 7, traveling with her parents, both agricultural scientists assigned to a new colony. Her parents are dead, Hana said. It was not a question. Yes, all adults on the ship died when the life support failed. Only she survived. Hana looked at the little girl through the glass one more time. Yoonji Lee, 7 years old, alone for 4 months, and she survived through pure determination and intelligence. No wonder the Zenthari thought she was dangerous. In a way, she was. Humans were survivors. They adapted. They endured. They did whatever it took to stay alive. But they were also children, vulnerable, in need of care and protection. Yoonji was both things at once, fierce survivor and frightened child, and that made her difficult for aliens to understand. I need to see her, Hana said.
Not through glass.
I need to talk to her. Captain Kim, she is highly aggressive. It would be dangerous. She is a scared little girl, Hana interrupted, and I am going in there to help her. You can either open that door or I will find someone who will. Veltharok was silent for a long moment. Then he clicked his mandibles in what Hana had learned was the Zenthari equivalent of a sigh. Very well, but I must insist on safety protocols, and I will need to inform Station Commander Crixtal of this development. Fine, Hana said. But we are getting that child out of this containment cell today. Do you understand? I understand, Captain Kim, and I apologize again for our error. We meant no harm. Hana knew he was telling the truth. The Zenthari had not been cruel on purpose. They simply did not understand. But that did not make what happened to Yunji any less terrible. The little girl had survived 4 months alone on a dead ship, only to be treated like a monster by the very people who should have helped her. That was going to change. Starting now. It took 3 hours of arguments before Station Commander Krikstal agreed to move Yunji from the containment cell. The crystalline being listened to Hana's explanations with patience. Light moved through Krikstal's body in patterns that showed they were thinking carefully about the situation. Finally, the commander spoke. Their voice sounded like wind chimes. Very well, Captain Kim. The child will be moved to secure quarters instead of the containment facility. However, you will be responsible for her. If there are any incidents, the consequences fall on you. Understood, Hana said. Thank you, Commander. The quarters they prepared were small but comfortable. There was a bed, a bathroom, a small sitting area with soft chairs. The walls were painted a warm cream color instead of sterile white. A window showed the stars outside. It was not a home, but it was better than a cell. Moving Yunji was difficult. The girl refused to cooperate. When handlers approached, she backed into the corner of her cell and grabbed pieces of metal like weapons. Her eyes were wide and alert. She watched every movement. She looked ready to fight. Hana asked everyone else to leave. She stood alone outside the containment cell door. Through the glass, she could see Yunji staring at her. The child's face showed no emotion, but Hana could see the fear beneath the blank expression. She had seen that look before on soldiers who had been through too much. Yunji, Hana said in Korean. Her voice was soft. My name is Hana Kim. I am human like you. I am here to help you. The girl's eyes widened slightly. Recognition. It was the first time anyone had spoken to her in her own language since the aliens found her. I know you are scared, Hana continued. I know the aliens are strange and frightening. But they made a mistake. They did not understand what you are. They thought you were a dangerous animal. But I told them the truth. You are a child. A brave, strong child who survived something terrible. Yunji did not respond. She just watched. We want to move you to a better room, Hana said. A room with a real bed, a window. It will be more comfortable. Will you come with me? For a long moment, nothing happened. Then Yunji slowly lowered the piece of metal she was holding. She nodded once. The walk to the new quarters was tense. Yunji walked close to Hana but kept glancing around at every alien they passed. Her body was rigid. Her hands were clenched into fists. She looked ready to run or fight at any second. When they reached the room, Yunji walked inside slowly. She examined everything. She checked behind the furniture. She tested the window to see if it would open. She looked in every corner. Hana recognized the behavior. The girl was mapping escape routes, looking for dangers, making sure she could not be trapped. You are safe here, Hana said. The door locks from the inside. No one can come in unless you open it. I will be next door if you need anything. Yunji looked at her but said nothing. Then she went to the bed and sat on the edge. She did not lie down. She just sat there watching the door. Hana left her alone. Some things could not be rushed. Trust had to be earned slowly. The next morning, Hana's colleagues arrived. Jiwon Park was a xenozoologist, an expert in alien life forms. She was young, only 28, with bright eyes and an eager smile. She carried a bag full of items from the human sections of the station. I brought books, Jiwon said, and some toys, and clean clothes in different sizes. I was not sure what she would need. Thank you, Hana said. That is thoughtful. Minji Cho arrived next. She was the medical officer, a biochemist who specialized in how different species functioned. She was 31, calm and professional. She carried a medical kit. I reviewed the medical scans the Zenthari took, Minji said. Her voice was tight with anger. That child is severely malnourished. She has several partially healed fractures. She shows signs of extreme stress. And they treated her like a lab specimen instead of getting her proper care. They did not know, Hana said. They thought she was an adult of a small hostile species. That does not make it right, Minji said. No, Hana agreed. It does not. Over the next 2 weeks, Hana spent most of her time in or near Yunji's quarters. She did not push. She did not demand responses. She simply existed in the same space. She would sit in one of the chairs and talk quietly about her own childhood in Seoul. She described the forests and mountains. She talked about the ocean. She told stories about her family. Yoonji never responded. But she listened. Hana could tell because sometimes the girl's expression would change slightly. A flicker of interest. A moment of sadness. Brief cracks in the blank mask she wore. Jiwon came by each day with something new. Books, puzzles, art supplies. She would leave them where Yoonji could find them and then leave without saying much. Slowly, the items began to disappear from where Jiwon left them. The girl was taking them, using them, though she never did so when anyone was watching. Minji brought proper food. She explained to Hana that the girl needed careful nutrition to recover from months of near starvation. She prepared meals that were easy to digest but full of the vitamins and minerals Yoonji lacked. She left the food and walked away. The plates came back empty every time. Meanwhile, word of the situation spread through the station. Other humans working on Station Helix 9 heard about the child who survived alone. Some wanted to visit. Hana refused all requests. Yoonji needed time and space, not crowds of well-meaning strangers. The alien reactions were more complicated. Many species were horrified to learn they had mistreated a child, but others became more frightened. If a human child could do what Yoonji did, what were adult humans capable of? Trainer Veltharok visited Hana one evening. The Zenthari looked uncomfortable. Captain Kim, I have been studying human development extensively since our era. I am beginning to understand how unusual your species is. Most consortium species reach full maturity within weeks or months of birth. Our young are either carried internally until complete or hatch with instinctive knowledge. But human children take years to develop. Yet they possess problem-solving abilities that surpass many adult species. Yes, Hana said. Human children are vulnerable in some ways. They need years of care and teaching. But they are also incredibly adaptable. They learn fast. They solve problems creatively. It is one of our species' strengths. It is terrifying to many species, Veltharok said honestly. The idea of young beings with such capability but without full maturity. It does not fit our understanding of how development should work. I understand, Hana said. But you need to see her as what she is. Not a threat. A child who needs help. I'm trying, Veltharok said. The council is requesting reports. There is talk of changing humanity's status in the consortium. Some species believe humans should be classified as high risk. Hana felt cold anger rise in her chest. Because of a traumatized child? Because she fought to survive? Because she demonstrated capabilities that frightened them? Veltharok said. I am telling you this as a friend, Captain. You need to prepare. There will be a formal review. After Veltharok left, Hana sat in silence. The situation was getting worse. But she could not focus on politics right now. Yoonji needed her. 3 weeks after Yoonji arrived at the station, something changed. Hana was sitting in the girls' quarters reading quietly. A small maintenance robot entered through the service panel to check the air filters. It was a simple machine, about the size of a cat with 6 legs and various tools. Yoonji had been sitting on her bed drawing with the art supplies Jiwon brought. She looked up when the robot entered. She watched it move across the floor. Then she spoke. Her voice was rough from weeks of silence. You are not like the others, Yoonji said in Korean. She was talking to the robot. You do not pretend to care. You just do your job, Hana froze. This was the first time Yoonji had spoken since arriving at the quarters. She did not want to scare the girl back into silence. The robot beeped and continued its work. Yoonji watched it finish and leave. Then she looked at Hana. I can tell the difference, Yoonji said. Between the ones who are just programmed to help and the ones who choose to. The robot has no choice. But you do. You keep choosing to be here, why? Hana thought carefully before answering. This child had learned to spot lies and false comfort. She needed truth. Because what happened to you was wrong, Hana said. Because you should not have been alone on that ship. Because you should not have been treated like a dangerous animal when you were rescued. Because you are a child who deserves care and safety. And because I can help, so I should help. Yoonji stared at her for a long moment. My parents are dead, she said. It was not a question. Yes, Hana said. I am sorry. Everyone on the ship died except you. I know, Yoonji said. I saw them. The life support failed while they were awake. I was still in cryo. When I woke up, they were all dead. I tried to wake them up at first. I did not understand. Then I realized. Hana felt tears sting her eyes but held them back. You survived for 4 months alone. That is incredible. You are so strong, Yunji. I did not feel strong, Yunji said. I was scared every day. I talked to myself so I would not forget how to talk. I pretended my parents were still alive and having conversations with them. I knew it was not real, but it helped. Is that crazy? No, Hana said. That is survival. You did what you needed to do to keep yourself going. There is nothing crazy about that. Yunji was quiet for a moment. Then she said, When the aliens found me, I thought they were going to kill me. They looked like monsters. I fought them because I did not want to die. Not after surviving so long. They made a mistake, Hana said. They did not know what you were. They thought you were an adult alien, not a human child. They were scared of you, actually. Yunji almost smiled. It was tiny, barely there, but it was the first smile Hana had seen from her. They were scared of me? Very scared, Hana said. You hurt 3 of their handlers. You kept escaping their containment systems. They had never seen anything like you. The smile faded. I hurt people. Not badly, Hana assured her. They are fine now, and they understand it was a mistake. You were defending yourself. No one blames you. Yunji looked down at her hands. What happens now? Where do I go? That depends on what you want, Hana said. But for now, you stay here. You eat good food. You rest, you heal, and you are safe. I promise you that. You are safe now. Yunji nodded slowly. Then, for the first time since being found, she lay down on the bed properly. She curled up on her side and closed her eyes. Within minutes, she was asleep. Real sleep, not the tense half-sleep of someone always on guard. Hana sat watching her for a while. The child looked so small in that bed, so fragile. But Hana knew better now. Yunji Lee was not fragile. She was one of the strongest people Hana had ever met. And together they would face whatever came next. 2 months after Yunji started speaking again, the council summoned Captain Hana Kim to a formal hearing. The message arrived early one morning. Hana read it 3 times, her stomach tightening with each word. The Galactic Consortium Council wanted to review humanity's status. They wanted to determine if humans were safe to integrate into galactic society. The hearing would take place in the Grand Amphitheater, the largest room on Station Helix 9. Representatives from all 63 member species would attend. Hana would have to defend her entire species based on what happened with one traumatized child. She told Yunji about it that afternoon. The girl was 8 now, looking healthier after weeks of good food and proper rest. She had gained weight. Her hair was clean and neatly cut. She wore comfortable clothes instead of the torn uniform, but her eyes still held shadows. They want to judge all humans because of me? Yunji asked quietly. Not just because of you, Hana said. But you made them realize how different we are from other species. That scared some of them. I scared them, Yunji said. It was not a question. She looked down at her hands. I ruined everything for humans, didn't I? No, Hana said firmly. You survived. That is all you did. You fought to stay alive. There is nothing wrong with that. If anyone ruined anything, it was the people who did not understand what they found. The day of the hearing arrived too quickly. Hana walked into the amphitheater and felt very small. The room was enormous, designed to hold beings of every size and shape. Holographic platforms floated in tiered rows around the central floor. On each platform sat or stood or floated a representative from a different species. There were crystalline beings that glowed with inner light. There were gas creatures swirling in containment fields. There were massive reptilian forms and tiny insect swarms that moved as one. Every imaginable type of life was represented here. And they were all watching Hana. Commander Krikstal opened the proceedings. We are here to review the integration status of humanity. Recent events have raised concerns about this species' compatibility with consortium standards. General Karn of the Vraxian hegemony has brought forth evidence for review. A large reptilian creature stepped forward. General Karn was impressive and frightening. His scales were dark red, almost black. His eyes were cold and intelligent. When he spoke, his voice was deep and commanding. Members of the council, Karn began. I present evidence that humanity represents a significant risk to galactic peace and stability. First, their history. Humans have engaged in constant warfare throughout their development. They have created weapons of massive destruction. They have nearly destroyed their own planet multiple times. Holographic displays appeared, showing images from Earth's history, wars, bombs, destruction. Hana wanted to argue, to explain the context, but the rules required her to wait until Karn finished. Second, Karn continued, their biology. Humans are persistence predators. They evolved to chase prey until it collapsed from exhaustion. They can survive in almost any environment. They adapt rapidly to new situations. Their population grows exponentially. They consume resources at unsustainable rates. More images appeared. Humans running marathons, humans in Arctic conditions, humans in deserts, humans climbing mountains. To the Council, it probably looked threatening. Humans everywhere, adapting to everything, never stopping. Third, Karn said, we have recent evidence of human juvenile capabilities. One human child age 7 survived alone for 4 months on a failing ship. She created weapons, set traps, established complex survival systems. She injured 3 trained handlers. If this is what their young can do, what are their adults capable of? The recordings from the Seongnam played on the displays. They showed the habitat Yoonji had created, the water recycling system, the food rationing, the trapped maintenance drones. To someone who did not understand, it looked like the work of a calculating predator, not a desperate child. I propose that humanity be classified as a high-risk species, Karn concluded. They should be restricted to their home system with limited contact with the consortium. It is the only way to ensure galactic safety. The amphitheater erupted in discussion. Some species seemed to agree with Karn. Others looked uncertain. Commander Krikstal called for order and the noise died down. Captain Kim, Krikstal said, you may present your response. Hana stepped forward. Her heart was pounding, but she kept her voice steady. Thank you, Commander. General Karn has presented facts but without context. Yes, humans have fought wars. So have most species. Yes, we created terrible weapons. But we also created art, music, literature, science. We built civilizations based on cooperation and mutual aid. She pulled up her own holographic displays. Images of human achievements, hospitals, schools, space stations. The images of humans helping each other, building together, creating beauty. Yes, we are persistence hunters, Hana continued. But that trait gave us endurance and determination. We do not give up easily. Is that really a flaw? Yes, we adapt quickly. We can live in many environments. But that makes us valuable partners, not threats. We can go places other species cannot. We can help in situations where specialists cannot survive. And as for Yoonji Lee, Hana said, her voice becoming passionate, she is not evidence of human aggression. She is evidence of human will to survive. She was 7 years old, alone in the dark with everyone she loved dead around her. She did not give up. She fought to live. Any species that calls that dangerous is missing the point entirely. The child attacked our personnel, Karn interrupted. She created weapons. She showed no mercy. She was terrified. Hana shot back. She woke up to find strange creatures surrounding her. She had no way to know you were trying to help. From her perspective, monsters were attacking her. Of course she fought back. That is not aggression. That is self-defense. Before Karn could respond, another voice spoke. It was Thyra, the young Rithani representative. Her species looked like large deer from Earth with flowing manes and gentle eyes. They were known for being peaceful and cautious. Excuse me, Thyra said. I would like to speak if permitted. Krikstal nodded. You may speak, Representative Thyra. Thyra stepped forward nervously. My species has been among those most concerned about humanity. We are prey animals by evolution. Predators frighten us instinctively. When we heard about the human child's capabilities, many of my people wanted to vote for restrictions. But I have been thinking about this carefully. She paused, gathering her courage. Captain Kim is right. The child's actions were defensive, not aggressive. But more importantly, I have been studying human behavior since this incident. And I realized something. Humans do not behave like predators in the way we understand it. They behave like protectors. The amphitheater grew quiet. Everyone was listening now. Human children require years of care, Thyra continued. This created strong evolutionary pressure for adults who protect vulnerable beings. Not just their own young, but any vulnerable being. I have watched Captain Kim with Yoonji. I have seen other humans on this station. They help without being asked. They protect those who need protection. They even risk themselves for strangers. Thyra looked directly at Karn. My species understands protection. We protect our herd, but humans extend that protection outward to include beings they have never met. That is not the behavior of a dangerous predator. That is the behavior of a valuable ally. Murmurs spread through the council. Some seemed thoughtful. Others still looked skeptical. Then Trainer Veltharok stood. I would also like to speak, he said. Proceed, Crixtal said. I am the one who first classified Yunji Li as a hostile specimen, Veltharok said. His mandibles clicked with what Hana had learned was shame. It was my error. I judged her by the standards of my own species. My people reach maturity quickly. We emerge from eggs knowing what we need to know. The idea of a vulnerable juvenile with adult-level problem-solving ability made no sense to me. He turned to face the entire council. But I have learned much since then. Human development is long because it allows for incredible learning and adaptation. Human children are both vulnerable and capable at the same time. This makes them different, not dangerous. And in a galaxy of specialists, humanity represents something we desperately need. Generalists, bridge builders, beings who can understand and work with radically different species. This is speculation, Karn said. Not evidence. Then let us test it, Commander Crixtal said. Everyone turned to look at the crystalline being. I propose a demonstration. Let us see how the human child interacts with juveniles from other species. If humans are aggressive predators, this will become clear. If they are cooperative, as Captain Kim suggests, that too will become clear. Hana's blood ran cold. Commander Yunji is still recovering from trauma. Putting her in a test situation could harm her psychological healing. I understand your concern, Crixtal said, but the decision before us affects all humanity. We need clear evidence one way or another. Before Hana could object further, a small voice spoke from the entrance to the amphitheater. I will do it. Everyone turned. Yunji stood in the doorway, flanked by Jiwon and Minji. The girl looked tiny in that enormous space, but she walked forward with her head up. Yunji, you do not have to do this, Hana said quickly. Yes, I do, Yunji said. She looked up at all the alien representatives. They are scared of me, scared of all humans because of what I did. I want to show them they do not need to be afraid. I want to prove that humans are not monsters. Hana knelt down to Yunji's level. Are you sure? This will be difficult. I am sure, Yunji said. Then she smiled slightly. I have already done difficult things, Captain Kim. I can do this too. The council agreed to the test. It would take place in 3 days. Yunji would be placed in a habitat simulation with juveniles from 5 different species. They would need to cooperate to solve puzzles and obtain resources. Observers would watch everything. If Yunji showed aggression or predatory behavior, it would support Karn's position. If she cooperated and helped others, it would support Hana's. Everything now depended on an 8-year-old girl who had already been through too much. Hana could only hope that they were not asking too much of her. But looking at Yunji's determined face, she thought maybe, just maybe, this brave child would show the galaxy what humanity really was. The habitat simulation room was large and carefully designed. It looked like a natural environment with rocks, plants, and a small stream of water, but everything was artificial, created for the test. Hidden cameras recorded from every angle. Observation windows lined the upper walls where council members could watch. Hana stood in the observation room with Jiwon and Minji. Her hands were clenched so tight her knuckles were white. Below, Yunji waited at one entrance to the habitat. She looked calm, but Hana could see the tension in her shoulders. She will be fine, Minji said quietly. But even she sounded uncertain. She should not have to do this, Hana said. She is 8 years old. This is too much pressure. She chose this, Jiwon reminded her. She wants to help. We have to trust her. Commander Crixtal's voice echoed through the room. We will now introduce the other juveniles. They have been instructed to cooperate to solve the puzzles placed throughout the habitat. Resources will only become available through teamwork. Let us see what occurs. 5 other doors opened around the habitat. From each one came a young being from a different species. A small Vothaxi entered first. It looked like a cluster of purple crystals about the size of a basketball. Light pulsed through it in slow patterns. The Vothaxi were ancient beings who thought in ways no one else could understand. Next came a Zenthari nymph. It was much smaller than adult Zenthari like Veltharok, only about as big as a house cat. It had 4 legs and 2 small arms. Its movements were quick and nervous. A Rithani calf trotted in on long legs. It looked like a young deer with silver fur and large eyes. It stayed close to the wall, clearly frightened of the unfamiliar space. A Kelton tadpole swam into the habitat through a water channel. It was amphibious, able to breathe both in water and air. Its skin was blue-green and glistened with moisture. Finally, an I3 wisp floated in. It looked like a small cloud of glowing gas contained in a barely visible membrane. It drifted slowly, changing colors as it moved. All 6 juveniles stood in the habitat, looking at each other with obvious uncertainty. None of them moved. The silence stretched on. "They are all afraid," Veltharok observed. He stood nearby in the observation room. "They have been told about the dangerous human child. They do not know what to expect." Yunji seemed to realize this too. She sat down on the ground slowly, making herself smaller, less threatening. She did not approach any of the others. She just sat and waited. An hour passed. The juveniles explored the habitat separately. They found the puzzles, devices that needed to be activated in specific ways to release food, water, or other resources. But the puzzles were designed to require cooperation. No single juvenile could solve them alone. The Zenthari nymph tried to access a small compartment in a rock wall. The opening was too narrow for its body. It clicked in frustration and gave up. The Vithaxi tried to activate a crystal matrix, but it needed physical manipulation that the crystalline being could not provide. The Rithani calf found food behind a barrier, but could not figure out how to move it. "They are failing," General Karn said with satisfaction. "The test will prove nothing if they cannot even attempt cooperation." But then something changed. Yunji stood up. She walked slowly toward the center of the habitat. She did not approach any of the other juveniles directly. Instead, she picked up a stick and began drawing in the dirt. The E3 wisp drifted closer, curious. It changed color from blue to yellow, which Hana knew was a sign of interest in their species. Yunji glanced up at it and smiled slightly. Then she continued drawing. She drew simple pictures. A small figure representing the Zenthari nymph, an arrow pointing to the narrow opening in the rock. Then a small figure representing herself standing nearby. She drew the same pattern for each juvenile, showing where they had tried to solve puzzles and failed. The other juveniles gathered slowly, watching from a safe distance. Yunji did not look directly at them. She kept her attention on her drawings. It was non-threatening, giving them time to observe without feeling pressured. Then she drew new pictures. The Vithaxi crystal next to the crystal matrix puzzle. The Zenthari nymph inside the narrow opening. The Rithani calf using its strong legs to move barriers. The Kelton sensing water sources. The E3 scouting from above. Each juvenile working together. "She is showing them a strategy," Jiwan whispered. "She has been observing their strengths and matching them to the puzzles." The Vithaxi pulsed with light, processing the information. Then it moved toward the crystal matrix puzzle. The Zenthari nymph followed, clicking excitedly. One by one, the other juveniles began to understand. What happened next was remarkable. The juveniles began working together, guided by Yunji's simple system. She did not command them. She did not take charge. She facilitated. She pointed out opportunities. She connected specialists with the problems that matched their abilities. The Zenthari nymph squeezed into the narrow opening and retrieved items stored there. The Vithaxi manipulated the crystal matrix, causing a door to open. The Rithani calf used its memory to remember the sequence of symbols they needed to activate a device. The Kelton found hidden water channels that led to resources. The E3 scouted from above, providing information about the layout, and Yunji coordinated. She used gestures when words would not work. She drew more pictures when demonstration was needed. She positioned herself as a bridge between specialists who could not communicate effectively with each other. The observation room was silent. Every council member watched intently. This was not what anyone had expected. "Remarkable," Veltharok said quietly. "She is not competing with them, she is enabling them." "This proves nothing," Karn said, but he sounded less certain now. "She could be manipulating them." "Does it look like manipulation?" Thyra asked. "Look at them." They are not afraid anymore. They are working together because they want to, not because they are forced. It was true. The juveniles had relaxed. The Rithani calf no longer pressed against the wall. The Zenthari nymph chirped happily as it worked. Even the cautious E3 wisp floated closer to the group. Then something unexpected happened. One of the puzzles malfunctioned. A platform that was supposed to lower food became stuck. The juveniles gathered around it, confused. They had done everything right, but the reward did not appear. The Rithani calf made a sound of distress. It had worked hard on that puzzle. Now it felt like a failure. The young creature backed away, its head lowered. Yunji walked over to the Rithani calf. She moved slowly, carefully. She reached out and gently touched the calf's shoulder. Then she reached into her pocket and pulled out a small package. It was one of the nutrition bars Minji had been giving her. Yunji had saved it. She broke the bar into 6 pieces and shared it with all the juveniles. The portions were tiny, barely a bite each, but it was not about the food. It was about the gesture, sharing what little she had because someone was upset. Hana felt tears in her eyes. This was who Yunji really was, not the survivor who built weapons and set traps. That was what trauma forced her to become. This was her true nature. A child who cared about others, even aliens who were nothing like her. The test continued for another 2 hours. The juveniles solved puzzle after puzzle, growing more comfortable with each other. They began to play between tasks. The Zenthari nymph and Yunji chased each other around rocks. The E3 wisp created light patterns that made everyone stop and watch. The Kelton showed them how to splash water in funny ways. By the end, they were not test subjects anymore. They were children playing together despite being completely different species. When the test ended and the juveniles were returned to their families, the observation room remained quiet for a long time. Finally, Commander Crystal spoke. "I believe we have seen what we needed to see," the crystalline being said. The human child demonstrated cooperation, empathy, and problem-solving. She facilitated others' success rather than prioritizing her own. She shared resources even when she had very little. These are not the behaviors of a dangerous predator. One test with one child does not represent an entire species, Karn argued. But his voice lacked its earlier conviction. "Perhaps not," Thyra said. "But it shows us what humans can be, and I would rather judge them on their potential for good than condemn them for their capacity for harm. Every species has both." Many council members nodded in agreement. The political landscape had shifted. Humans were no longer simply the scary predator species. They were now seen as potential bridge builders, beings who could connect different species and facilitate cooperation. But the final vote was still to come, and not everyone was convinced. Karn and several other representatives still looked skeptical. The battle for humanity's place in the galaxy was not over yet. Hana went down to the habitat to collect Yunji. The girl looked tired but proud. "Did I do okay?" she asked. "You did amazing," Hana said, pulling her into a hug. "You showed them exactly what humans are. Not monsters, not threats. Just people who want to help and connect with others." "The Zenthari nymph wants to be friends," Yunji said. "Its parent said maybe we can meet again if the council says it is okay. Do you think they will?" "I hope so," Hana said. "I really hope so." As they walked back to their quarters, Hana realized something important. Yunji had not just helped humanity in that test. She had helped herself too. By connecting with other children, by being kind and cooperative, she was healing. She was remembering how to be a child again instead of just a survivor. The final council vote would happen in 2 days. Until then, all they could do was wait and hope that the galaxy would see what Hana saw. A species full of potential, capable of both fierce survival and gentle compassion. A species that could adapt to anything but never lost their ability to care for others. A species worth having as part of the galactic community. The day of the final vote arrived with clear skies outside the station windows. Hana woke early, unable to sleep. Today would determine humanity's future in the galaxy. Would they be accepted as full members of the consortium? restricted to limited contact, or isolated completely from galactic civilization? Yoonji was already awake when Hana checked on her. The girl sat by her window watching the stars. She had grown so much in the past months. She looked healthier, stronger, but more importantly, she looked hopeful. That was something Hana had not seen in her eyes when they first met. "Are you nervous?" Hana asked. "A little," Yoonji admitted. "What if they vote against us? What if I made things worse?" "You made things better," Hana said firmly. "You showed them who we really are. Whatever happens today, you did everything right." The amphitheater was even more crowded than before. Every council representative was present. No one wanted to miss this historic vote. Hana stood in the center of the floor again, but this time Yoonji stood beside her. The girl had asked to be there, and the council had allowed it. Commander Krixtal's crystalline form glowed brightly as they called the session to order. "We are here for the final deliberation on humanity's status within the Galactic Consortium. Before we vote, does anyone wish to speak?" General Karn stood immediately. "I maintain my position. The test proved only that one human child can cooperate under controlled conditions. It does not address the broader concerns about human expansion, resource consumption, and military capability. I urge caution." Several representatives nodded. Karn still had support, even if it had diminished. Thyra rose next. "I speak for the Rithani delegation. We were among the most fearful of humanity. But we have learned that fear based on misunderstanding is not wisdom. It is simply fear. The human child showed us cooperation, kindness, and empathy. These are values we share. These are values we should encourage, not punish." The Rithani vote for full membership. A murmur of surprise ran through the amphitheater. The Rithani had been expected to vote for restrictions at minimum. Their support for humanity was unexpected. Trainer Veltharok spoke next. "The Zenthari also support full membership. We made a terrible error in how we treated Yoonji Lee. But that error taught us an important lesson. We cannot judge species by our own standards. We must try to understand them on their own terms. Humanity brings unique strengths to the consortium. Their adaptability, their endurance, their capacity to bridge between different species. We would be foolish to reject such valuable partners." More species spoke. Some supported humanity. Others remained skeptical. The debate continued for over an hour. Hana listened to it all, her heart pounding. So much rode on these decisions. Then Commander Krixtal raised a crystalline appendage for silence. "I will now speak as well, not just as a moderator, but as a representative. I have observed humanity closely since their first contact with the consortium. I have watched their progress, their mistakes, their achievements, and I have formed an opinion." The amphitheater went completely quiet. Krixtal rarely took a position on controversial matters. Their opinion carried enormous weight. "The consortium was founded on a simple principle," Krixtal continued, "that diversity makes us stronger, that each species brings something unique and valuable to our collective. We have specialists in every field, species that excel at mathematics, at engineering, at art, at diplomacy, but we have lacked something important. We have lacked generalists, beings who can work with anyone, adapt to anything, bridge between radically different ways of thinking." Krixtal's light pulsed in patterns that showed deep thought. "Humanity fills that gap. They are not the strongest species, not the smartest, not the most technologically advanced, but they are the most adaptable. And in a galaxy as diverse as ours, adaptability is perhaps the most valuable trait of all. I vote for full membership, and I encourage others to see what I see, not a threat but an opportunity." The amphitheater erupted in discussion. Commander Krixtal had never been so direct in supporting a controversial position. Their words would influence many undecided representatives. After the noise died down, Krixtal spoke again. "It is time to vote. Each representative will cast their decision, full membership, restricted status, or isolation. The majority will determine the outcome." One by one, the representatives voted. Their choices appeared on a holographic display for all to see. Hana watched the numbers climb. Her chest felt tight. Yunji reached over and took her hand. The Vothaxi voted for full membership. The Kelton voted for full membership. The Ethri voted for full membership. Species after species chose to accept humanity, but not all. The Vraxian hegemony voted for isolation, as expected. Several other militaristic species followed their lead. Some cautious species voted for restricted status, wanting to limit human expansion while maintaining trade relationships. The numbers kept climbing. 40 votes for full membership, 41, 42. They needed a simple majority. With 63 species voting, that meant 32 votes minimum. When the final vote was cast, the results appeared clearly on the display. 43 species voted for full membership. 13 voted for restricted status. 7 voted for isolation. Humanity had won. Not unanimously, but decisively. Commander Krikstal's voice rang out clearly. The vote is concluded. Humanity is granted full membership in the Galactic Consortium, with all rights and responsibilities that entails. Welcome officially to the galactic community. Hana felt tears streaming down her face. Relief, joy, exhaustion all hit her at once. Beside her, Yunji was crying too. The girl who had survived so much, who had been treated as a monster, who had bravely faced her fears to help her species, had succeeded beyond anyone's hopes. The amphitheater filled with the sounds of different species expressing approval. Clicks, whistles, chimes, hums. Each species had their own way of celebrating, and they all blended together into something beautiful. Over the following weeks, everything changed. Human diplomats arrived at Station Helix 9 to establish permanent offices. Cultural exchange programs began. Human scientists started collaborative projects with alien researchers. Human doctors trained in multi-species medicine. Human engineers shared their designs while learning from alien techniques. Hana was promoted to admiral and given command of a new integration task force. Her job was to help humans and aliens work together, to solve problems that arose from their differences, to build bridges between worlds. It was perfect for her. Jiwon Park became the chief xenobiological advisor for the entire consortium. She created comprehensive databases on all member species, making sure future misunderstandings like what happened with Yunji would never occur again. She traveled to dozens of worlds, learning and teaching. Minji Cho established the Cross-Species Medical Institute. She trained doctors from many worlds to treat patients from other species. Her work saved countless lives and helped different species understand each other's biology better. Trainer Veltharok became the leading educator on human development. He traveled throughout the consortium, teaching other species about humans. He and Yunji remained close friends. The Zinthari who had once feared her now considered her like family. Representative Thyra proposed a new initiative called the Vulnerable Species Protection Act. It established protocols for helping species in crisis, for protecting developing civilizations, for ensuring that no being would be left alone and afraid like Yunji had been. Humans took a leading role in this program, their protective instincts finding positive expression. Not everything was perfect. General Karn and the Vraxian hegemony remained hostile. They closed their borders to human vessels. They refused to participate in joint projects. The tension between Vraxians and humans became one of the consortium's ongoing challenges. But it was manageable. Not every species would accept humans, and that was okay. Trust had to be earned over time. Interestingly, some of the Vraxian workers who had been saved during various human rescue missions began speaking up in their society. They shared stories of human kindness and bravery. It was slow, but change was beginning even in the most resistant corners of the galaxy. As for Yunji, she faced a choice. She could return to Earth, live with relatives, attend school like a normal child. Or she could stay at the station, continue her education here, and maybe one day join the integration task force. She chose to stay. Hana officially became her guardian. Yunji attended classes with children from many different species. She made friends across the galaxy. She learned languages, sciences, cultures, and she thrived. 1 year after the vote, Hana and Yunji stood at the same viewport where they had stood so many times before. Ships came and went, carrying beings of every type. The station had grown even more diverse. New species joined the consortium regularly, and humans were part of it all now, helping, building, connecting. "Do you ever think about going back to Earth?" Hana asked. Yunji considered the question. She was 9 now, taller, more confident. The scared, traumatized child who had fought for survival was still part of her, but she was so much more than that now. Maybe someday, she said, to visit. But this is home now. This station, these people, this work we do. I want to help others who are lost and scared. I want to be the person who comes for them, who shows them they are not alone. Hana smiled and put her arm around Yunji's shoulders. You already are that person. You showed the entire galaxy that humans care about others, even when those others are completely different from us. You changed everything, Yunji. We changed it together, Yunji corrected. You believed in me when everyone else saw a monster. Jiwan and Minji helped me heal. Veltharok learned to see differently. Thyra found courage to speak up. Even Commander Krikstal took a stand. It was all of us together. She was right, of course. Change never came from just one person. It came from many people choosing to do better, to understand more, to reach across the gaps that divided them. A message appeared on Hana's communicator. There was a situation on a distant outpost. A newly contacted species was having trouble integrating. They needed someone who could bridge cultural differences, who could help different beings understand each other. They needed the integration task force. Duty calls, Hana said. Can I come? Yunji asked. I know I am still young, but I could help. I am good at figuring out how different beings can work together. Hana thought about it. Yunji was young, yes, but she was also wise beyond her years. She had lived through things most adults never experienced. She had insights that came from surviving, adapting, and healing. And she had a gift for connecting with others. Yes, Hana said. You can come. As an observer for now, but one day when you are older, you will be a full member of the team. I have no doubt about that. Yunji's face lit up with a smile. It was genuine, reaching her eyes. The same eyes that had once been empty with shock and trauma now sparkled with purpose and hope. Together, they left the viewport and headed to the docking bay. There was work to do, people to help, bridges to build between different worlds and different ways of thinking. The little girl who had once been classified as dangerous, who had survived impossible odds, who had been feared by an entire galaxy, was now a symbol of hope. She represented everything good about humanity, the determination to survive, the courage to face fears, the wisdom to adapt, and most importantly, the compassion to care about others, no matter how different they might be. The galaxy had asked if humans were dangerous. The answer, as Hana had known from the beginning, depended on the question. Dangerous to who? Dangerous to ignorance, to prejudice, to cruelty, to the idea that differences made cooperation impossible, but to the galaxy itself, to the beings who filled it, to the future they were all building together. Humans were not dangerous at all. They were exactly what the universe needed,